My name's Jade and I'm watching Anthony's presentation.
My name is Maria and I am watching Anthony's presentation.
All right, please have a seat and thank you. Now it started off good morning and I have one question for you guys. Now, take a moment to think, but what do you think produces more energy? One piece of uranium the size of a pencil eraser or 149 gallons of fossil fuel? Yes.
The uranium?
The uranium? Good answer, but surprisingly, both produce the same amount. So one little piece of uranium produces as much energy as over 10 cars worth of fuel. Now, my topic today, it will be why nuclear power is the superior energy source compared to other energy sources. Now, I have credibility in this topic primarily because I was trained for 2 years in the Navy's nuclear power training program, and as a private citizen, I have a deep concern for the future of energy and environmental sustainability. And after a little bit of research, I've concluded that nuclear power is the more beneficial source for us. Now, to begin, we're going to start with the environmental benefits of nuclear power. Now, nuclear power, surprisingly, is actually the better fit for the environment. According to the Institute of Environmental Research, nuclear power produces virtually no CO2 emissions, primarily because the process of nuclear fission requires just heating up water to produce steam. So combustion isn't part of the process. So it does not contribute to the greenhouse effect and also does not contribute to air pollution. Therefore, improves our air and our public health. Now, by comparison, coal plants produce 21,000 pounds of CO2 per megawatt hour, and that translates to millions or tens of millions of CO2 produced in the air by a coal plant, depending on its size, per year. Now, in terms of land usage and habitat preservation, so nuclear power plants only require about 1 square mile of land to use. Now, for example, if you want to build a wind farm to produce the same amount of energy as a nuclear power plant, you would need over 100 square feet of land for that wind farm. So instead, by going to nuclear power, we reduce the need to destroy natural habitats and reduce the need to develop lands. And according to Electric Power Research Institute, U.S. reactors are able to save annually 100 million cars worth of CO2 in the air per year. Now that we've talked about the environmental benefits of nuclear power, we're going to talk about why it's more efficient and why it's more reliable compared to other sources of energy. Now, according to the U.S. Department of Energy, since 1990, a fifth of our power in the U.S. has been produced from nuclear power. And also, it's able to deliver that power at a power factor of 92%. Now, what does that 92% mean? Well, now what that really means is the plant is able to deliver power 92% of the year. So almost the entire year. Now, by comparison, the next closest energy source is geothermal, which only delivers power 75% of the year. And then at the bottom, solar, which delivers power only 25% of the year. Now, solar and wind are good sources of renewable energy and are clean, but they are unfortunately at the mercy of wind and sun, therefore are intermittent in their power delivery, therefore are not reliable at a large scale for energy requirements. And another fact is, 1 gram of uranium produces as much energy as 1 metric ton of oil. That's a ratio of nearly 1 to a million. And this is due to the fact that uranium is far more energy dense than coal and oil. Therefore, it's a lot more resource efficient when producing energy. Now that we've talked about its reliability and its efficiency, we're going to talk about the common concerns surrounding nuclear power and the misconceptions. Now, common concerns surrounding it are going to be things like radiation exposure, nuclear waste, and the potential for disastrous events such as Fukushima or Chernobyl. So according to the Argonne National Laboratory, Americans actually receive on average 100 times more radiation from coal plants and 200 times more radiation from flying across the country than from nuclear power plants. And as well, it's actually a well-known fact that eating a banana actually gives you more radiation than living next to a nuclear power plant for over a year. For nuclear waste is actually categorized in different levels and then stored. Low-level waste is safe to dispose of in regular landfills, while intermediate and higher risk level waste is stored hundreds of meters underground where it can safely decay without risk to the public. Another little fact is no member of the public has been injured from a nuclear power plant in over the 50 years of its commercial history in the U.S. While accidents like Chernobyl and Fukushima are tragic, they're incredibly rare. And oftentimes, the lessons learned from those accidents are brought forward to our modern reactor plants now to improve its safety. For example, if a reactor, one lesson we learned from Chernobyl, if the reactor goes supercritical, all we simply do is drop the control rods to stop the reaction and control the plant. So, in summary, nuclear power is cleaner, more efficient, and more reliable, and far safer than oil, gas, or other sources of energy. And why is this important? Why are we talking about this? Well, as we move on to the future and as our technology advances, our requirements for energy are going to continuously increase. But we must also still focus on our environmental stability. And to complete both goals, nuclear power is the best option. Now, in closing, I hope you learned something from this presentation and you can walk away with a more positive attitude towards nuclear energy and hopefully more supportive of future policies surrounding it. While the future is going to require more energy and more from us, nuclear power offers a way to light the path to a brighter tomorrow for all of us. Now, are there any questions?
Do you have any questions?
No, that was pretty good.
How do you avoid tragedies like Chernobyl and things like that? When it's close to a population, because you're affecting so many people for generations. So how do you capture that?
So specifically for Chernobyl, that occurred because the Russian plant lacked a lot of the safety features we have now. For example, when they were trying to control their reactor, they actually flooded it with cold water. Now, not to get into too much of the weeds for it, when you introduce cold water, we learned that it actually raises the criticality of the reactor by introducing cold water. That's where we developed our control rod procedures. The control rods are able to control the rate of the reaction as we lift it up or down. And if it gets too crazy, all we have to do is simply drop the rods in there and it essentially shuts down the reaction chain. We also have many safety procedures, and that includes monitoring all the parameters of the reactor.
How much can human error play a part in how dangerous nuclear power is, though?
Human error can always play a factor. That's why there's more than just one person monitoring it. There's usually a team of people, and that allows for a system of forceful backup and checks and balances to maintain to make sure there isn't one point of failure in the process. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
All right. Thank you for your time.
Yay!